All right, what's up? What's up? How's it going? This is a special private Q&A live I'm doing for one of my algebra mates, simple students. Today it is Tuesday, January the 17th. I'm gonna keep it short and simple because I don't think this first week was overly detailed. It doesn't need to go too long. I just wanted to remind you of a few important basic facts, okay, from our discussion last week. So what we were talking about was the concept of percents. Percents are everything. Percentages is how the world runs. As a reminder, the definition of percent, if you're watching this or want to get a refresher as you're going through your content, the definition of percent is out of 100. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the chat in case this helps you just kind of have it. This is from our notes. It means out of 100. You can divide anything into 100 equal parts, give out part of those or several of those parts, and that's where percentage comes from. Now, one of the things that we talked about, a very useful tool in our lesson, we were talking about a helpful equation that you can use to solve just about any basic percentage style question. If you need to calculate the percentage of something, a discount, whether you're trying to figure out the valuation of a company, when we talked about, owning equity and things like that, we talked about how you have something called part. This is the equation, part over whole equals percent. And because percent means out of 100, I don't know if you can see that good, it means out of 100. Okay, so make sure you write this down or identify this equation in your notes. Because what I want to do is I'm going to read a couple different problems that you're going to see in this week's set from just the calculating percent exercise, not the what is it called, the Shark Tank kind of geared version, but the one that's just calculate the percent problems, right? And so what you'll see is a few different looks. One of them is going to say, or some of them, I should say, is going to just ask you, well, what's the percent of this number is this? For example, if you look at that first one, I think it's worded this way. It says, what percent of 29 is 3? So I'm going to put that in the chat real quickly. What percent of 29 is 3? And that's how it's worded. When you see these problems, you will always be given two numbers. Okay. Everyone, you're going to be given two numbers. Your task is to figure out, well, which of those numbers is the part, which of those numbers is the whole, and what is the percent. And if you're able to set that up correctly, you'll be able to put the variable on the one element that we're not given. So, for example, when you see this one where it says what percent of 29 is 3, little tip, when you see the word of, it almost always is a reference to the to the whole. Okay. So of 29, 29 in this case would be the whole. And it says what percentage? Well, we don't know the percent. That's why I said what percent. That's what we're trying to find out. Therefore, I know that 3 has to be the part, is 3. So, little tip, if you see the word of, that's going to be your whole. Okay, your denominator. If you see the word is, it's almost always the part. Okay, this is my little tip. Now, we don't know the percentage. So if I don't know something in algebra, we put a variable there, meaning I don't know what it is. I want to know what it is. Let's solve for it. Okay. The other thing we talked about was how to solve this proportion once you have it set up. Once you know that you got the numbers in the right spot, of course, you cross multiply and divide. So diagonally, I'm going to say 3 times 100. Well, that's 300. And 29 times x is simply 29x. You simply take the cross products or the cross multiplication and set your two products equal to one another. Then we're just solving this thing at this stage like it's a one-step equation. You got 29x, so you got to do the opposite of multiplication, which is to divide both sides by 29. I highly suggest on a problem like this, get out your phone calculator or some sort of calculating device that's handy. Even on a computer, it can be helpful just so you can save a little bit of time and make sure you're super precise. But 300 divided by 29, I do this in my calculator. Turns out it's a decimal, which is why I'm glad I use a calculator. It's about 10.34. Okay, so we're going to put that in there. X equals 10.34. I'm going to circle it right there so you guys can see that. Okay, so that's just one refresher on how we use this equation on one of your examples. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to try to keep this one pretty short and sweet. This might even be like an 8-minute video. I'm just giving you a light refresher as to some of the things we discussed in our session. So if you look right here, or if you look at the next one, sometimes they switch it up. Like the questions are sometimes asking you for the percent, and sometimes they're giving you the percent, and they're wanting you to find another part. Like, for example, if you look at number 6, okay, number 6 on this week's activity is interesting because it says 58% of what is 63.4. Now, what a specific amount of numbers they're giving you here, but that's what we're going to say. In fact, do you want to not do a decimal? I'm going to change this on the fly. Let's do number 5. I know I said number 6. I'm sorry. Let's do number 5 because I don't want to do a decimal. It's late at night. Let's just do an easy one to make a slightly less complicated one in order to make our point. So number 5 is very similar, where it says 28% of 63 is what? Okay, so got to pay attention. Are they giving me the percent? Are they giving me the part? Are they giving me the whole? 28% of 63 is what? That's number 5 on your activity for this week. So if you use that same formula, I know that 28%, it has a percent sign there. So that's not a mystery. I'm going to go ahead and put that over 100, right? But then I'm given of 63 is what? You hear me? Of 63 is what? Well, I just said of is almost always an indication that that number is the whole. So what percent of 63 is? So this is how that works. Okay. Pay attention to the words of and is. Of is almost always a whole, a total amount, something like that. And then is your part. Well, they didn't tell us what it is. We got to find that out. And what are we going to do? Same thing. Cross multiply 100 times x, or x times 100. That's 100x. 63 times 28. I can't do that in my head, or at least I don't feel like doing it in my head. So I'm getting out my calculator just to make sure I don't make any mistakes. 63 times 28. Turns out that's 1,764. I'm going to put that down next. If you can see this, 1,764. Obviously, the last step is to divide by whatever's next to the x. So in that case, it's 100. And so now I'm just going to make sure I'm precise here. It should be about 17.64, I think. But let's just double check that. Just make sure. It's late at night. You want to make sure. Yeah, 17.64 is correct. Okay. And so these are just 2 quick refreshers. I just wanted to emphasize the fact to you that you really got to pay attention when those numbers are presented to you. You got to ask yourself, which number is it a part, is it a whole, or is it a percent? Now, the percent's easy. It'll have a percent sign. But if it doesn't have a percent sign, then it's probably either, one of those ofs or is one of those parts, one of those wholes. And if you plug that into that tool, really, that proportion is a tool, it's going to help you solve a lot of percent questions. And then they can get more involved. Hey, what's 25% off this much money? And then you can deduct the price. And we're going to get into that more and more as time goes on. But that was a helpful tool to calculate percent in a crunch and in different ways, right? So anyway, we'll get more into it in this week's session. It's going to be on Thursday, and we're going to get into a little bit more of the why behind the what that we do and get some applications to it. So hopefully you see the point behind a lot of these processes that we have, these best protocols that we have. But anyway, leave me a comment if you're able to watch this on replay or live, and then I will get to you with any questions or concerns you might have as soon as I can. All right, I love you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.